YouTubers. Well, we got another viewer request. And the request was, Paul, can you show us how to check out a snowblower, how to do the maintenance on it, if there's any adjustments? I assume that's what the viewer wanted to know. So I usually don't take a viewer request for videos unless it's something that I haven't seen done on YouTube before. In this particular case, I didn't see it done on YouTube, so I decided to go ahead and do the video. People are asking us to do videos on Kathy's decals and stickers and how they're done, and there's literally dozens and dozens of videos on YouTube showing how to do various types of decals and various types of methods of doing them. And to cover all the different types would be a full series of videos. So, and really that's not what our channel is about. So I hope you understand that. So anybody have any questions about, you know, stickers or decals or custom graphics and that, there's plenty of information out there, folks, to look at. Kathy is not really the type of person who wants to really do these videos because, again, there's an abundance of information already out there. And plus, we don't endorse products per se. Here in the shop, it's unavoidable. We have to promote the products that we have here because you see them in the videos. With regards to decals, there's plotters, there's laptops, there's software programs, there's printers, there's cutters, there's cutting mats, there's different types of vinyls, there's and plus a pile of learning. Like, honest to God, I don't know how she does it, because these videos to me are complicated enough, but I just go in and I look at her in her little office in there with all of this equipment, and I'm just at awe of how she figures it all out. So that's why we didn't get into doing the videos, or videos on the decals. So I hope we can put that baby to rest. Anyway, so today we're going to concentrate on the snowblower. This particular snowblower is a L2674. It's a Kubota tag snowblower, but it's not made by Kubota. It's made by a company in Quebec, Canada, and they're world-renowned for their quality snowblowers. And it's a great product. This particular snowblower has been on, I've owned this snowblower since 2008 because it was on the 4240 when we bought it in 2008, and now it's on the 5740, which we bought in 2011. Not a lot of hours on the snowblower. The snowblower is kind of a luxury item for us. It's only used when essentially needing to be used. When you get a pile of snow around, there's nowhere else to pile it up, well then the snowblower takes over, and so that's what we use it for. Also, I do have a contract where periodically I get called to clean out a compound where confiscated vehicles are put, and sometimes I have to go into the compound and in the past would take it out bucket by bucket, but with the snowblower now I just simply blow it over the compound. So it's a great way to move snow and move snow fast. People ask me why I have a snowblower in the back and a front end loader in the front. Well, for me personally, it's the ideal situation because I always have my snowblower with me and I always have my blade with me. And if need be, I can come back in short time and change over the plow to a snow bucket, which I have, which is double the size of the regular Kubota bucket that comes on the 5740. So I have the capabilities of moving snow and moving it around quick. So this situation for me is really, really good. Now there are many different types of snow blowers, and we won't get into them, but they all basically have the same way of checking them. There's some essential things that you should check on a snow blower, and you should always keep it in the back of your mind when you're doing a walk around. And I always encourage people to do a walk around of their machine before they ever operate it, because sometimes, you know, things can happen overnight in the cold weather or even in the hot weather, and it's nice to do a walk around and just have a look underneath and see if you see any fluids leaking, or if you see any oil leaking as such, or whatever. You know, it'll give you a heads up to something bigger is going to happen. And the same thing with snowblowers. Now, for me, a snowblower consists of from the 3-point hitch back. The snowblower is just not the snowblower. You have to maintain what drives the snowblower as well. And we're going to be looking at the PTO drive shaft, and we're going to be looking at the 3-point hitch arms, and we're going to be looking at a number of different things. So before we get going actually doing the service on this, let's have a look at some of the equipment that I'll be using today. So I'm getting a bit lazy in my old age, I guess. So some of you have seen this before, and this is a M18 Milwaukee grease gun, and this is what I'll be using for greasing anything that you see today. It's a great unit. It's of the Fuel series, and of course it's time to pop in a new battery. It only has 2 marks on it, so let's pop in this one, and there you go. We're freshened up already. You can set this particular grease gun to have 5 pumps on. When you put it on, it just constantly pumps it out, or you can adjust the amount of pumps by using the wheel here. It also has an LED light that you can turn on and off, and it has a real long whip on it for getting in at hard places. This particular one also has, excuse me folks, I got to reach a rag there. It also has a special locking coupler on it, and it's you want to check it out. It's lockandlube.com. It's a really neat system, and I don't know how many of you out there has been having problems with grease and stuff, but with the old type of coupler, what would happen is you would shove it on and you would grease it, and then you had to work like heck to get it off. Well, this one here got a quick release, so makes it easy. Another thing that you'll find handy is this is a inexpensive kit that you can get at Prince's Auto, and just show you what it looks like. And it comes with a number of adapters, and this particular one that I like is the needle adapter, and it comes with many different right angle adapters, and as you can see there's pretty well everything in it. And in this case, when you want to use it, you'll just peel this one back, you'll put your quick coupler on like so, lock it on, and there you go. So it's a very nice tool to have, and of course it will come in handy eventually. Another thing you'll want to have on hand when you're doing a service is, I prefer to use fluid film. Fluid film is great. It's a good in penetrating oil. It don't evaporate. It kind of stays with the item, and it turns into almost like a wax-like material eventually. And I even get up under the machine sometimes, and where you'll see hydraulic lines in a close proximity to each other, I'll always spray them down, and that way, especially around if you happen to see a clamp going over a hydraulic line, like so, always spray around that clamp, because that's where it's definitely going to rust. So, you know, just a little tip for you. So let's head on over to the snowblower now, and we'll size up a few things, and I'll show you what I intend to do. Okay, the first thing that you need to know, or you need to do when you're servicing a snowblower, is make sure that your machine is turned off and the key is in your pocket. If it's a cab model, even lock the doors. You know, a lot of us have children around, and you don't know what can happen, you know. So, you know, make it as safe-proof as you possibly can. You know, take no chances. Anything can happen, you know. A kid can get excited watching his dad operating the tractor, and his dad could be back here working on the tractor, and the next thing the tractor starts up and dad is run over, or something is dropped on him. And when you're servicing these things, make sure they're laid right on the floor. Don't have them, you know, up 3 feet or have them up 2 feet, because they're easy to work on that way. It's only a chance of something else happening. So now that we have the safety issues over with, let's get into it. So this particular snowblower has a hydraulic motor, and the hydraulic motor is right there. I'll give you another look at it. And there it is here. Now, if some of you seen my video a while back, I put these restrictors on here to slow down the rotation of the chute and the deflector, because this thing was crazy fast. So this has worked out really well. So what you'll want to do with the chute itself, some don't have a hydraulic motor, some actually has a cable that goes around, and what you'll do is you'll go over and you'll take your fluid film, and anywhere that you see movement, you'll want to just give them a shot of fluid film. And it does a couple of things when you do things that way. And what it does is it keeps the components from rusting, keeps them lubricated, and keeps them from seizing up. And like this particular one got a Teflon washer or ring going around it. It's not really necessary to do that, but hey, heck with it. I do it anyway. So again, it's a nice precaution, and it do help it, I'm sure. Now, what you'll want to do here now is you'll want to go along, and on each end of the main auger there's a bearing, and there's a bearing on the other side. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your auger and check for any free play. If you feel any movement back and forth here, it's time to investigate. Let your chain go, pull your bearings out. The bearings are relatively inexpensive, and you're going to want to replace those. In the meantime, you'll want to grease them. This particular one only greases from inside here, so you'll be greasing them there, and you'll be greasing them right here. And you'll grease them till you just see a little bit of grease coming out here. So don't need to over grease them, just till you see the first sign of grease. That's good enough for that. You'll also want to check the tautness of your chain. Now this chain is perfectly normal like that. You want a little bit of play, but not too much. And if it needs to be adjusted, well, there's a nut on the outside of this idler gear here, and there's a bolt there and a nut over on the other side, and you'll loosen it up, and you'll push down on this gear until the chain is tight, and then you'll tighten up the bolts again, and that's it for your adjustment for your chain. Now, another good thing that you can do, and that you should do, is gently turn your impeller over, like I'm doing here. It will bring up, but you can still get it to turn, and then you can. And what you're listening for, you're listening for any noise, or you're also listening for any grinding. Grab the impeller and pull back and forth and see if there's any play in that as well. And if there's any play, of course, you'll have to investigate and find out why the play is there, because there shouldn't be any gear or any play in that situation there, or that area. There's also a little drain hole right at the bottom of the barrel. Let me see here now if I can scroll in. And it's right there. And make sure that's clear at all times, because what ends up happening is if you're out blowing snow and the snow is half wet, you'll end up parking your tractor in the nighttime if it's outdoors. If that's plugged, the water won't drain out of it, and it'll freeze. And then when you go to turn on your snowblower, this is encased in ice, and you got a shear pin problem. So it's essential that you keep that drain hole actually clear. Now, when it regards to greasing the chain, you can do it. Again, I use WD-40, sometimes just to lubricate it. But to keep it well lubed, I like to use the fluid film, and I soak it all in. You don't have to be too worried about being tidy here. It kind of keeps it from rusting, you know. So it's just a good practice. So that's it for that particular part. Now let's head over and look at the gearbox. Okay, so here's the gearbox. Now when I bought this particular snowblower back in 2008, there was no cover over the rear drive shaft or over the PTO shaft. So I made up this cover. So I gotta see if I can do this with one hand, guys. There's a pin that I push up on here. There you go. So that's what I made for there. Now, in that gearbox, there's 2 oil seals. One will be right in there, and one will be down there, guys. It's essential that you keep an eye on those seals, because if anything happens and you lose the oil out of that gearbox, you're going to want to find out why the seal is gone. If it's just the seal itself, you replace it. It's an inexpensive job. It's not hard to do. The gearbox will have to come off, but it's much better to replace the seal than have to replace the gearbox, because that gearbox is not cheap. So what I like to do every now and then, probably twice a winter, I got this pre-loosened, and I like to take the plug out, and I like to look in the hole. Let me see if I can zoom in. Kathy is much better at using this camera than I am, by the way, so let me see now. Okay, now you see the oil? It's almost to the top of the hole. That's where the oil level should be. The oil is nice and clean, so if it was say solid white and milky, it means it's oil or there's water in it. And of course, if you didn't see oil in it, well, that means you better investigate and find out why there's no oil in it. So it's essential that you make sure that that gearbox is kept up to snuff. So I'm going to pause this now. I'm going to come back, tighten that up, and then I'm going to grease a few areas. Okay, now I have the camera put on the tripod. I can actually tighten a few things here, like that drain, not the drain plug, but the inspection plug. This particular gearbox don't have a drain plug as such, so there should be no reason to have to take the oil out. But if you do, well, you're probably going to end up taking the gearbox off. Some do have a little plug on them. This particular one don't. So, excuse me, folks. Now, I will grease those areas there. And we should be good to go on that. Yep. There you go. So that's it for that bit of grease right there. Okay, so now we have a few more grease nipples that we got to try to find. One is going to be down here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, they're right there. That's for a shear pin. And there's another one right there where that light is too, as you can see. So that's to keep the PTO spline shaft on the blower, to keep it pretty well lubricated. And there's also a shear bolt there as well, so it keeps everything nice and lubricated. Now we're going to move on up here, and you're going to see a grease nipple here on the lifting arms. Now this might not apply to some of your 3-point hitches, folks, So I'm going to grease those and then I'll be right back. Okay, that's all greased. So now we're at, I'll just show you, you can see where I put the grease there. Now, I usually leave the grease hanging off the nipple like that until the job is completed. Then I can just do, when I'm doing a quick review to see if I left anything or missed anything, I can tell by looking at the grease that I didn't. There's grease nipples down on each side of them, those lift cylinders. Now when it comes to a snowblower, through personal experience, when you look at the nuts, you can see where the light is to there now. Those big nuts there, there's one there and one on this side. That's the main lift point for the snowblower. They can come loose. So periodically check them with a wrench or a socket and make sure they're tight. It's essential that they stay tight so you don't develop any slop in the system. So that's just a little tech tip for you there right now. So what I'm going to do is anywhere I see a swivel point, like there, here, here, down around there, I'm going to take some fluid film now and I'm going to spray those down. And that will keep them from rusting and keep them moving freely, because they can stick and they can seize pretty fast. So you don't have to worry about the mess it's making, because you'll clean all that up in the spring before you put your snowblower away. So we'll head over now to the other side and we shall see. As you can see, any points where you see where it needs to move, it's a good idea to. Anywhere there's threads, you know, it makes a world of difference to the machine. So I think that's about it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take off these here, the covers off the power takeoff shaft, and there's grease nipples in around there that I want to show you. Okay, now you're going to see a chain on each end of that power takeoff shaft, and there's a reason why the chain is there, and the chain is only there to keep this cover from rotating 360 degrees. So we're going to take that chain off there now. There's actually two on this one, and see, without the chain it would just keep constantly turning. Now I get a lot of complaints from people who have these tractors with the rear cover over the PTO shaft, and they say that the problem is they hear a squealing noise coming from the snowblower area. Well, there's a perfectly good reason why you'll hear squealing, because this is probably one of the most neglected parts of the tractor, is this cover. This cover actually needs to be greased. On right here you'll see there's a grease nipple sticking out. Well, when you grease that, what'll happen is there's a plastic bearing around that PTO shaft, and what happens is the plastic dries out, and when it starts to dry out, it starts to rub up against the dry part of the PTO steel shaft, and it causes a vibration that's so loud that you can hear it in the cab of the tractor. So another tech tip is make sure you find the grease nipple and you apply grease to the PTO shaft bearing or cover bearings, because that's essentially what it is. Now I'm going to slide this back here to get at my grease nipple for my universal joint. I could possibly do it without moving the cover back, but I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm just going to let this go so that you can see it for yourself. And you just take them and you twist them a little bit, and they pull right out. And then you should be able to take that shaft or that cover and move it back. It's only a matter of just taking your time and thinking about what you're doing. You know, it's critical to have every grease nipple looked after, because if you leave one out, that's just going to be the one that's going to give you trouble. And guess when you're going to have trouble? When you need the darn snowblower. So be better to do your maintenance right and deal with it then, you know. Okay, I got to move this chain out. The chain is off, and then this will slide back. So now I'm going to change my gloves. People wonder why I wear gloves. Well, this is why I wear gloves, partly. And other reason why I wear gloves all the time is because I've had issues with my hands cracking. It has something to do with the chemicals that I've been using here in the shop. So Doc says keep gloves on. It keeps your skin moist, and I've been using it now for a year and I haven't had a problem with my hands. So it's a good investment. So I'm going to get the new gloves on, grab the camera, come over and show you what the joints look like. So there's the grease nipple on the universal joint. As you can see, it's not exactly lacking for grease, but again, you know, it's essential that you keep these things greased. It's just a matter of pulling out these 3 clips, pulling off the chain, pulling this cover back, and voila, there's your grease nipple. So, you know, for what it takes, it's not a big deal. And of course, I'll do the same thing now on this end. Guys, I'd also like to point out too that right here on your tractor's PTO, where it comes out of the tail of the tractor, that's a quick release. You pull in on that and let go from that shaft. It's a good idea once in a while to spray that or take it off, and also put a little bit of grease in there. I usually do it once a year at the beginning of each season. I'm not going to do it today, but I will spray some lubricant over this ringed area here, and that should keep it at least from sticking and freezing up. So now that I have this end put back and all the clips put back in shape there, I'm going to take this one apart now and start greasing up the U-joint in behind that. Okay, so the drive shaft or the PTO shaft cover is bolted back on, and we're kind of winding down, so to speak. You want to do a walk around before you sew it all up, just to make sure you didn't forget one, like this one here in particular. So that's done now. And if you have any manuals that came with your PTO shaft, you're going to want to make sure that there's no grease nipples in the tube. There's one there that's that actually for the spline, for the slider. Speaking of which, if you happen to have a brand new tractor, for instance, don't let it happen to you what happened to me. When I bought the 4240 originally, what would happen, I'll move this up a bit, guys. What would happen when I got it here from the dealership is when I would lift the snowblower up midpoint, the inner auger would bind up. It was binding up so bad that it was pushing up the gearbox in the snowblower, and it was in danger of actually beating up, destroying the gearbox. And what I had found out was that our selling dealer didn't cut the drive shaft, and what was happening is as the snowblower was coming up, the drive shaft was acting like a pry bar and pushing out on the snowblower. And it only before I caught it, actually the dealer's response to it was, well, we'll cut the fins on the impeller so that it will clear the drum. And I said, no, there's something wrong. So I came back and I removed the drive shaft and I cut it as specified in the manual, and I never had an issue after. I can lift it up to full height or full down and it won't bind. So If anybody gets a brand new snowblower for the tractor, make sure you go by the book that comes with the snowblower and you check the width or the length of the drive shaft or the PTO shaft. If you don't, you could do some severe damage to the tractor and also the snowblower. So something to keep in mind. And also, when you watch your snowblower, if you're looking at it on the ground, it should be level with the tractor. If it's not level with the tractor, there's a turnbuckle up there on the right hand side, and you can take that. Let me see if I can move the camera for you, and I'll show you exactly what you would do. So say for instance it's not sitting level on one side or the other. You would lift this up here and you would adjust this here, and that way you would get your level proper. This one here has got a unique set of stabilizers in the rear, and you just drop the pin in, and what the stabilizers does, it keeps the snowblower from wandering too much to each side. If you have the type like some of the BXs and other models have the turnbuckle, you want to put your snowblower up about a foot off the ground, and you want to rock it back and forth side to side. If there's too much play, you'll want to go down here on your stabilizers by your tires. You'll want to move it, and you want to get that snowblower or your implement as rigid as possible. You don't want it waving back and forth. You want to keep it, a little bit of play is sufficient. It's okay. But if you have too much play, it makes a lot of rattles, a lot of noises, a lot of wear, a lot of unnecessary trouble for you. So keep it as tight as you can. So that should pretty well do it for that. Another thing, guys, when you're checking your snowblower out, again, make sure there's no play in the bearings. Make sure there's no play in the PTO shaft. The physical snowblower itself, make sure there's not much side-to-side movement. Make sure you check all the nuts and bolts and hardware that holds it on. It's pretty well self-explanatory. It's a matter of just keeping your wits about you and making sure that everything is up to snuff. When it's up to snuff in here, it means that it's going to be up to snuff out there. If you happen to break a shear bolt off, well, put back what the manufacturer recommends. Some guys are putting grade 8 bolts back and they are tearing the living heck out of the snowblower. And it could also possibly cause damage to the tractor itself. So err on the side of caution. Put back what the manufacturer recommends. The manufacturer knows best. Okay? People ask me all the time, do I use the snowblower much? No, I don't, but when I use it, it's a great addition to have to the tractor. The more implements you have for a tractor, the more valuable the tractor is to you as an operator and an owner. There's a lot of great vendors out there. There's I don't even want to name them all. I can't even begin to name them all, but they all look pretty reputable to me. So check them out. I know anything that comes out of Quebec that I've ever seen in a snowblower is an exceptionally well-built snowblower. So you got yourself a pretty safe bet if you're buying something. One company comes to mind, Kotec, is a company that builds not so much snowblowers, but like blades and box blades and like implements for tractors. They build nice quality products. And but again, when you're doing your maintenance here, make sure that you check over every little bit. Start from the 3-point hitch and move your way back to the snowblower. If you happen to lose a gear in a gearbox, maybe rather than buying an awful expensive brass gear, from the manufacturer, maybe check with your local machine shop and see if they can manufacture one for you. Most people can, most shops can, and believe me, they can probably do it for a lot cheaper than what some of these dealers are charging for some of these gears. It's ridiculous. I got a couple emails this week on it, and I tell you, it's frightening. So, you know, it might be an avenue that you want to check out. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Kathy wants to go shopping, so I better get to it or she's going to be terribly mad. Take care, look after yourselves, and God bless.